I've been traveling now for 3 years. I took a career break for a year, did South America for a few months, road trip in the US, Switzerland, Southeast Asia, Sydney and New Zealand and Japan. And then I became a digital nomad back in Southeast Asia, bit of a stint in Spain, bit of a stint in France, going back and forth between the UK and the US where my family lives. So I've been on the road now for 3 years, and I wanted to create this video just to give you that experience and perception of travel, how it's amazing, how it can change you, but also why this chapter of my life is done and what I actually miss about a normal, more routined life and essentially the home comforts. So I hope you find it interesting. So I want to start on a positive note, and it is a massively positive note, and that is just how good travel is for you and solo travel in general. I was living up in London in my early, mid to late 20s, moved to San Francisco. I was in a corporate tech sales job, and I thought I was living the dream. I mean, I was living a great life, great bunch of friends, great career, great money, great lifestyle, everything we all want to tick off in life, right? And I'm super grateful for that. However, my mindset wasn't expanding. I wasn't necessarily growing or learning from other people. When you travel and you go to a different country, a different culture, a different transport system, a different language, you have to figure it out. And especially by yourself, you have to figure it out by yourself. And there is nothing more liberating than being scared in a situation or being nervous in a situation and then getting through it, maybe having a conversation with a local who's helped you out and having that camaraderie with the local, but then also other travelers as well. I'm not saying I went off the beaten track completely, I didn't at all. There was loads of other travelers and you're all in it together, and it feels like a great community. And really the beautiful thing about traveling again is the people that you meet, right? Like I said, in my old life, you're with your friends who are the same age as you, normally in kind of similar careers, etc. But when you're traveling, you're meeting all different types of people from all different countries, all different age groups, all different career paths. And so it really just improves your communication skills. You go into a hostel by yourself and you have to strike up conversations with random people, and it just gives you an extra layer of curiosity. And I think curiosity is so important to have in life, because if we're not curious about learning new things or going to new places or experiencing new things, then we're living a pretty dull life, right? It's always going to be the same. And I love routine, but you have to get out of your routine occasionally. Okay, now slightly on a bit of a negative point about travel, and that is just because modern travel is so easy these days, and what that means is more and more people are traveling. Now, of course, I could go to different destinations. I went to pretty touristy areas, I guess. And so one of the main kind of drawbacks with my personal experience with travel is the amount of, it sounds funny because I'm a tourist myself, but just the amount of tourists that are there. But you have people that are kind of going away on 1 or 2 week holidays, and it's so easy to travel. You get your plane, you can get an Uber from the airport, you go straight to your hotel, you can eat at the touristy restaurants, and so you're essentially not really embracing what I believe is the full experience of travel. All you're doing is going to kind of tourist hotspots to get the Instagram photos, to get the content, etc. You're not putting yourself into the deep end. I'm definitely not painting the brush over everyone. I met some amazing travelers, many more travelers that were more daredevilish than myself, but little things like getting a local train in Sri Lanka or getting a bus across South America instead of getting a flight, throwing yourself in at the deep end is my way of experiencing and growing as a person. And so there's so many people that travel these days that just end up in these spots that you're in, but they've got the easy route. So there's just a difference in between the people that I notice that are tourists to travellers. And like I said, I'm not saying that I'm the world's biggest, almost daredevilish traveller, but when you're in these places and these people aren't necessarily respecting the local customs or the local culture because they're on a holiday, it just brings the travel experience down a little bit. Okay, so why am I stopping traveling? Well, a few reasons, but the first reason is it does get tiring. I know first world problems, but living out of a suitcase, if you want to go to different countries that have different seasons, different weather, trying to pack your life into one suitcase is a logistical minefield. Yes, you have all the freedom in the world. I can choose anywhere to go in the world with my laptop and work and travel, which obviously sounds amazing. However, when you think about it, you're always on a time crunch, right? Every country has different visas, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. You have to try and extend it through the local customs, which if you're in a country that's not that established can be an absolute nightmare. You have to check in at a certain time, check out at a certain time. All of these things that feel like first world problems, because if you're on a 1 or 2 week holiday, it doesn't really matter. But if you're constantly doing this every single month, it really does start to weigh down on you. And really, it's the home comforts that I think so many of us take for granted. If you're into health and fitness, like myself, or just living a pretty healthy and active lifestyle, you need your home comforts in terms of your nutrition. It sounds funny, but even having your air fryer in your kitchen or having your protein shakes in your kitchen, you can't necessarily travel around with these types of things. Your supplements and all this kind of stuff, right, that we take for granted, all these little healthy, proteiny things, or just in general food that we enjoy cooking. When I was in Asia, I probably didn't cook a meal for 3 months, and yes, that sounds amazing, and it was when I was there. But now that I've been back here for a couple of months, I've cooked pretty much every meal, and you kind of fall in love with cooking again, which I never thought I would, because fueling your body with great, tasty, nutritious food is a nice thing to do. Having your own bedroom, your own bed, your comforts, your wardrobe full of clothes instead of one 20 kg suitcase, and also the environment in terms of your friends as well. A quote really stuck with me, and that is, I'm always the one visiting, I'm never the one being visited. And that starts to get tiring after a while, because you want to invite friends over for just a coffee or a glass of wine or a dinner or whatever it might be, instead of this dramatic visiting them every single time. And so I think we just take for granted sometimes the home comforts. If you own your own home, or even if you rent a home, for a year contract, at least that gives you that home comfort, that base. And yeah, I think a lot of us take that for granted. But I guess the last main message is just to not take for granted the home comforts that we have. So if this video resonated with you, or I'd love to hear your thoughts if you're a traveller or a digital nomad yourself, or someone that's looking to travel, or someone that's also stopped travelling and how they found it going back to their kind of old environments, be interesting to know. So I appreciate you watching. Thank you very much.